The phone rang at 3:03 a.m. One vibration, then another. Half asleep, I reached for the glowing rectangle on my nightstand. Zion calling. For a second, I didn't breathe. The name blurred, then came into focus again, like the universe wanted to make sure I saw it. Zion Vance. My son. 15 years gone. I sat up. The room swayed. Shadows pressed against the walls as if they, too, were listening. The phone kept buzzing in my hand. I whispered his name once, afraid it would shatter if I said it louder. Zion. My thumb trembled over the green button. I answered. A breath crackled through the speaker. Mom. It wasn't a memory. Not a recording. The voice was now hesitant, hoarse, too real. Mom, where am I? Every muscle in my body locked. Zion. I forced the word out, barely a whisper. It's dark, he said, voice quivering. I can't move. I'm cold. The phone nearly slipped from my fingers. The air in the room felt heavy, like the world was holding its breath. This isn't real, I murmured. It can't be. But the line didn't end. I heard him breathing, slow, frightened. Can you see me? I asked before I realized how insane it sounded. No, he said. Just dark walls. Dirt. I think it's dirt. My heart slammed once, hard. I looked toward the framed photo on my dresser, his graduation picture, that crooked smile he always hated. The same voice that once begged me for 5 more minutes of sleep was whispering from a phone 15 years too late. Zion, listen to me, I said, gripping the phone until my knuckles whitened. Where did you get this number? He paused. Static filled the silence like wind over an open field. You put it in my pocket, remember? He said softly. Before they closed the box. The call dropped. Silence. I sat there, shaking, watching the reflection of my own terrified face in the dark screen. Outside, the wind sighed through the trees. Inside, the phone buzzed again, one single vibration, then stillness. And I knew, with a kind of certainty that burned straight through reason, my son was calling from his grave. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The phone lay face down on the nightstand, black screen reflecting nothing but my trembling hands. Every few minutes, I checked it, hoping it would ring again. It didn't. At dawn, I woke my husband, Kai. My voice cracked before I even began. Kai, he called. He blinked, still heavy with sleep. Who called? Zion, I said. The name hit the air like a dropped plate. He froze. I told him everything. The time, the voice, the words. Every detail sounded impossible, even to me. Kai rubbed his eyes, trying to pull logic out of something that had none. You've been dreaming about him again, he said quietly. I shook my head. It was real. He said he was cold. He said there was dirt. For a long moment, he just stared at me. Then, maybe out of mercy or fear, he said, Show me. The phone was still warm from my grip. When I pressed recent calls, his name was there. Zion Vance, 3:03 a.m. Duration, 1:42. Kai's lips parted. The color drained from his face. That's not possible. Before we could speak again, the phone vibrated. The same name. The same impossible number. Kai grabbed it before I could move and hit speaker. A hiss. And, Dad. His knees buckled. Zion. It's so dark, the voice whispered. I can't breathe. Kai's breath came out in gasps. Where are you, son? Tell me. I don't know, the voice cracked. You said you'd visit. Why didn't you come? And then, the faint sound of knocking. Slow. Hollow. From somewhere beneath. Kai dropped the phone. It hit the floor with a hard slap, the voice vanishing into static. We stood there, frozen. The house seemed to hum with silence. The curtains shifted as wind brushed through the half-open window. Then, faintly, from the fallen phone speaker. Mom, please hurry. The line died. Kai knelt down, hands trembling, staring at the device as if it might explain itself. He whispered, His phone, we buried it with him. I felt the blood drain from my body. Then who's calling us, Kai? Outside, the wind carried something that almost sounded like a voice. A whisper buried deep beneath the ground. By morning, the house felt like a museum of ghosts. Every creak of the floorboards reminded me that Zion had once lived here, laughed here. His door had stayed shut for 15 years, the handle cold, the paint untouched. I hadn't stepped inside since the funeral. Until now. I pushed it open. The air smelled of dust and old cologne, that faint citrus scent he used to drown himself in before school. Sunlight slipped through half-drawn blinds, cutting the room into gold and shadow. His desk was exactly as he'd left it, stickers peeling from the edges, a cracked photo frame, and a small black notebook beneath a layer of dust. I brushed it clean. The first page bore his name, Zion Vance, age 17. My hands trembled as I opened it. January 14th. Had that dream again. Woke up in total darkness. Couldn't move. Could only hear my own breath echoing back at me. My throat tightened. The handwriting was his, tilted, impatient strokes. January 27th. Sometimes when I close my eyes, I feel like the ground's breathing under me. Like something's waiting there. The pages rattled between my fingers. Each entry spiraled deeper. Dreams of being trapped, of hearing knocking beneath his bed, of whispers telling him not to be afraid when the dark comes. I turned to the last page. A single line. If I die, bury my phone with me. The pen had dug so hard it nearly tore the paper. I stared at the words until the room blurred. My heart pounded against my ribs like fists on a coffin lid. From the hallway, Kai's voice cracked through the silence. Era, you okay? I couldn't answer. I could only trace that final sentence over and over, until the letters seemed to pulse under my fingertips. Bury my phone with me. 15 years ago, I'd done exactly that. Slipped it into the pocket of his favorite hoodie. I couldn't stay in the house. The journal's last line kept echoing in my head, every word a pulse under my skin. If I die, bury my phone with me. By the time the sky turned gray, I was already driving towards Cypress Grove Memorial Park. Mist coiled over the road, swallowing the headlights. The world felt half asleep, like even God hadn't woken yet. My hands shook on the steering wheel. The phone lay beside me, dark and silent. When I reached the gate, the caretaker startled at the sight of me. "Mrs. Vance," he muttered, pulling his jacket close. "You shouldn't be here this early." "I just need a minute," I said. "Please." He hesitated, then stepped aside. Maybe he saw something in my face that told him not to argue. The grass was wet with dew. My shoes sank into the earth as I walked toward Zion's grave, row C, lot 42. The fog thinned just enough for me to see the outline of the headstone, the flowers I'd left weeks ago now wilted and brown. I knelt, pressed my palm to the cold marble. For a moment there was only the wind, moving through the trees like breath. Then, a sound. Tap, tap, tap. Soft, distant, from beneath. I froze, leaning closer, ear against the ground. The sound came again, slow, uneven, like someone trapped below was trying to answer. Zion! The name broke from me before I could stop it. Nothing. Then a faint hum, static, like the whisper of a dying battery. The caretaker's voice startled me. "Ma'am, are you all right?" I turned. "Do you hear that?" He frowned. "Hear what?" I gestured to the earth. "The knocking. He's trying to reach me." He looked at me the way people look at someone balancing on the edge of madness. "Mrs. Vance, grief plays cruel tricks. Come on, let's get you home." But I couldn't move. I pressed my hand back to the soil. For a heartbeat, it was warm. Then the phone in my pocket buzzed once, just once, before going dead again. When I finally stood, the caretaker was gone. The fog thickened. And from somewhere deep below, I heard a final whisper. "Mom, I'm still here." All that day the knocking wouldn't leave my head. By nightfall, I'd made the decision no mother should ever make. Kai refused to come. "We'll call the police," he said. You can't dig up a grave. But the police would need proof, and proof was buried 6 feet under. So I called Mark, an old friend who owed me more than a few favors. He didn't ask why. Maybe he heard something in my voice that told him not to. We met at the cemetery a little after midnight. Fog crawled low over the grass. Our flashlights carved narrow tunnels of light through it. Every sound felt louder in the dark. The crunch of our boots, the hiss of damp air, the hammering of my pulse. Row C, Lot 42, I whispered. Mark hesitated. Era, you're sure about this? I just need to see him, I said. Just once. The shovel bit into the earth with a hollow thud. Each scoop felt like peeling away time. Minutes stretched. My hands blistered. When the metal finally struck wood, I almost screamed. We brushed the dirt away. The coffin's surface was slick with moisture, the nameplate faintly glinting beneath the beam. Zion Vance. I dropped to my knees. Help me open it. Mark shook his head. Era, this is wrong. Please, I said. I have to know. The hinges groaned as we pried the lid open. Light spilled out, soft, bluish, pulsing like a heartbeat. For a moment neither of us breathed. Inside lay Zion. Not bones. Not decay. His face peaceful, color still in his lips, hair still curling over his forehead as if he'd just fallen asleep. And in his hands, his old phone, screen glowing weakly. The light flickered once, then steadied. A faint hum filled the air. Mark stumbled back. Jesus Christ. I reached forward, fingers trembling. The screen showed one notification. Draft message. To Mom. My chest tightened. Zion. The phone vibrated. Once. Then a voice, so faint it might have been the wind. Don't be afraid. The glow brightened, flooding the coffin, washing over my face in cold blue fire. I didn't scream. I couldn't. I just stared, tears burning down my cheeks, as the impossible light breathed from my son's still heart. The light deepened, not harsh, but soft and alive, like something breathing. It poured from the coffin in waves, turning the fog silver, painting the gravestones with moving halos. Mark staggered backward. Era, what is that? I couldn't answer. The glow wrapped around my hands, cool as water, warm as breath. It pulsed, in time with something I hadn't felt in 15 years. His heartbeat. Inside the coffin, Zion's chest rose. Slowly. Gently. The sound of air filling lungs that shouldn't have existed anymore. Zion. My voice cracked. Baby, can you hear me? His eyelids fluttered. For a moment, I saw the boy I buried. 17, soft-faced, fragile. But as they opened fully, he wasn't that boy anymore. His face was older. Stronger. The years we lost were written in his eyes. He looked straight at me. Mom. The world narrowed to that word. I fell to my knees beside the coffin, sobbing and laughing all at once. My hands touched his, warm now, no longer stone. I'm here, I whispered. I'm right here. Mark backed away, trembling. This isn't possible. Maybe it wasn't. But Zion was breathing. The air around us shimmered like heat. Tiny motes of light drifted up from the coffin, vanishing into the dawn air. For a moment, it felt like standing inside a sunrise before the sun had learned how to burn. Zion tried to sit up. His voice shook. How long was I gone? My heart seized. 15 years. He blinked, dazed. It felt like minutes. His fingers brushed the phone still glowing beside him. They told me you'd come. They. I whispered. He didn't answer. Just smiled faintly, a smile both too young and too old. Behind us, the first bird of morning sang. The light around the grave began to fade, drawing itself back into him, until only the phone remained softly pulsing in his hand. Mark whispered, "We have to get him out of here." But I couldn't move. I just kept holding my son's hand, afraid that if I let go, the dawn would take him back. We brought him home before dawn. No headlights, no questions. Mark drove, silent, hands white on the steering wheel. Zion sat beside me in the back seat, wrapped in Kai's old jacket. He kept staring out the window as if trying to recognize the world rushing past. When the car stopped in the driveway, Kai was already waiting on the porch. For a heartbeat, he couldn't move. Then he took one step forward. Zion! The name trembled between us. Zion lifted his head and smiled. Shy, uncertain. Hey, Dad! Kai's knees gave out. He caught himself on the railing, tears streaming before he could hide them. How is this possible? Zion only shook his head. I don't know. I just woke up. Inside, the house felt smaller than it had ever been. Every clock ticked too loudly, every light too bright. I made tea just to keep my hands busy. The steam fogged my glasses as Zion looked around the kitchen. You changed the curtains, he said softly. Yes. My voice broke. You remember them? He nodded, but his gaze wandered, lost between memory and something else. The dog's not here. I froze. Our dog had died 12 years ago. He smiled again, confused. He was barking last night. Kai and I exchanged a look, neither of us knowing what to say. Later, he wandered into his old room. The posters, the trophies, even the faint scent of his cologne still clung to the walls. He ran his hand over the desk where his journal had once been. Everything's the same, he murmured. But not the same time. I watched from the doorway. His shadow fell long across the floor, stretching toward the window where morning light bled through. Do you remember what happened? I asked. He turned slowly. I remember you crying. Then nothing. Then voices telling me to wait. His brow furrowed. They said more are coming. A shiver ran through me. He reached for my hand. His skin was warm now, too warm. Don't worry, Mom, he whispered. They said the dark doesn't stay closed forever. And somewhere in the distance, as the sun rose, a phone began to ring. Nights grew strange after Zion came home. He rarely slept. I'd hear him pacing in his room, whispering softly to no one. Sometimes the lights flickered when he spoke. Sometimes, the air turned colder. At first, I thought it was trauma, his mind struggling to catch up with life again. Until the night I heard him answer back. I woke to a low hum, like static leaking through the walls. The sound came from his room. When I opened the door, he was sitting cross-legged on the floor, phone in his hands, screen glowing faint blue. Zion! He didn't look up. They're still there, he said quietly. In the dark. My throat tightened. Who's there? The ones who helped me, he whispered. They said I wasn't the only one who could come back. He finally lifted his eyes. They were bright, too bright. They want me to open more doors. Doors. I stepped closer. What doors? He smiled faintly. Between places. Between now and where I was. His voice was calm, too calm. I didn't dig my way out, Mom. They pulled me through. But now they're waiting for me to return the favor. The lamp beside him flickered and went out. Darkness folded over us. Zion, stop. You're scaring me. He blinked, as if waking. I don't mean to. They said you'd understand. I don't, I whispered. I just want you safe. The phone in his hand buzzed once. Then again. He looked down at it and frowned. They're calling. Before I could move, he pressed the screen to his ear. His face changed, expression gone, voice dropping to a whisper. Yes. I hear you. I snatched the phone away. The screen was black. No number. No sound. But the air still hummed. Zion's voice was trembling now. They said you shouldn't have opened the box. What? They said when one door opens, others follow. He stared past me, toward the window. Outside, the streetlights blinked out one by one, leaving the world in shadow. I reached for him, but the phone in my hand, his buried phone, lit up on its own. Across the glass, in faint letters. Answer them. The storm came without warning. Lightning split the sky open like a wound, and the house shuddered beneath it. Wind howled through the half-open windows, rain slashing against the glass in furious sheets. Zion stood in the middle of the living room, phone in his hands, light flickering against his face. The glow wasn't normal anymore. Not cold blue, but white, burning, alive. "Zion, put it down!" I shouted over the thunder. He didn't move. "They're here, Mom. They're waiting." Another flash. For a heartbeat I saw his reflection in the window, dozens of faint silhouettes behind him, faces in the dark. I rushed forward. "You don't have to listen to them." He turned, eyes wet. "If I don't, they'll take someone else." "Then let them take me," I cried. "Not you." Lightning flared again, throwing the room into violent shadows. The phone's glow brightened until it painted every wall. He gripped it tighter. "They gave me life, Mom. I owe them." "You owe no one," I whispered, stepping closer. "You're my son. You belong here." The lamp exploded, sparks scattering like fireflies. The air smelled of rain and ozone, of endings. "Zion, listen to me," I said, voice shaking. "If you open that door again, you'll lose everything. You'll lose yourself." He hesitated, tears streaming. "I can hear them calling. It sounds like home." I reached for the phone. He resisted, the light surging between our hands. For a second, I saw it, a field of black water, hundreds of faces beneath its surface, all whispering his name. I screamed and yanked the device free. The light flickered, sputtered, then steadied again. Zion fell to his knees. "Don't, Mom. Please." I looked at him, the boy I'd buried, the man he'd become, the miracle I wasn't meant to touch, and knew what love demanded. "I can't lose you twice," I said. "But I won't lose the world for you." I hurled the phone into the fireplace. It cracked, sparked, and the fire roared, white, then gold, then gone. Thunder shook the walls. The glow vanished. And when I turned back, Zion was gone. Only the rain remained, whispering against the windows like a fading heartbeat. By dawn, the storm was gone. The house smelled of smoke and rain, the kind of silence that follows something holy, or something broken. Ash clung to the hearth. The phone was gone, burned into a shimmer of melted glass. And Zion. Zion wasn't there. His jacket lay folded on the couch, still warm from where he'd stood. I sat beside it, running my fingers along the seams, half expecting his laughter to rise from the air, his footsteps to echo down the hallway. But there was only stillness. Outside, the sky was pale gold. The rainwater on the window caught the light, turning every drop into a small sun. For the first time in 15 years, I didn't cry. I just listened, to the world breathing again, to the wind moving through the trees like a whisper of forgiveness. Kai came in quietly. He didn't ask what happened. Maybe he already knew. He placed a hand on my shoulder, and we sat in silence, side by side, as the morning settled around us. And a sound. Faint. Impossible. The ring of a phone. Not Kai's. Not mine. It came from the living room. From nowhere. From everywhere. A single tone, clear and steady. I followed it, heart trembling but not afraid this time. On the table, where the phone had burned to nothing, a faint light pulsed through the ash. I reached out. "Hello." Static. Then, his voice. Older. Calm. Peaceful. "Mom. I made it home." My knees gave out, and I pressed a hand to my mouth, laughter and tears spilling together. "Zion. Are you safe?" Silence. Then a soft reply, fading like a dream. "I'm where the light began. Don't wait in the dark anymore." The line went still. But the quiet wasn't empty. It was full. Full of breath. Full of something bigger than grief. I walked to the window. The sun climbed over the horizon, painting the world new again. Birds sang in the wet branches, their voices carrying what words never could. Maybe heaven doesn't send letters anymore. Maybe it just calls at 3 a.m.